your position and so forth, when you came back to the jail, they probably decided that the best place for you would be confinement. I'm not making an excuse, I'm just saying that's the way they probably were thinking.
I wasn't looking at that. Okay, we have this back on, and it's active.
Okay.
You spoke with Tara?
Yes.
Spoke with Chris?
Yes.
We have not talked to them since you hung up with them, so I'm
Okay.
gonna let Sherry just ask you a few more things, and I'm
Okay.
gonna step out.
Okay.
Um,
Starting to think that you're afraid to be around me.
if you just, he feels like if you're more comfortable with me versus having everybody in here, if it's a more comfortable setting for you, we just don't want you to feel at unease.
Yes.
So talking with, I guess, Tara and Chris, they say that you might have a little more information.
I mean, like what?
So what exactly is it that they're trying to, because
That's what I was gonna ask you. What exactly it is? Is it that, like, I mean, I don't know how much more.
I think it's more so, probably the little more details about it, about the knowing when about the murder, about the knowing when the murder was happening. The conversations after the bump is probably a big deal.
But that's where the struggle has been, because it's like that's why it came out the way that it came out, because it's like weren't talking about any details
Right.
specifically. I mean, I guess everybody assumes that it was more this detailed, planned out situation, but it really wasn't.
Okay. So him being murdered, and like I said, I still know you, at the time you didn't know it was Dan Markel, was that name's engraved in your head for the rest of your life.
Yes.
You know his name since the trial and stuff, and since, Sigfredo was arrested, I think that's when you first realized the name.
Yes.
But Charlie's brother-in-law.
Yes.
Charlie's brother-in-law that was murdered, okay? So I know I think we've already hammered through everything that was like the, from Halloween, we hammered through that. We know how that conversation started. Your involvement with that, you're going to be able to, if they were to ask you, hey, you knew that a murder was going to happen before the murder occurred, the answer would be yes, correct? Because we went through that. Because
Yes.
even though you didn't know it at the very beginning,
Yes.
before he was killed, you knew he was murdered.
Yes.
Okay. Or you knew he was going to be murdered. He was going to be killed. Before he was killed, you knew he was going to be killed. Okay. The other thing would be, the money and stuff. Okay. You mentioned something about his parents.
Yes.
What else? I know you said he was very protective of his mom. So, and he would step out.
Yes.
You knew about the.
I think it's just because he's always met, like with like his relationship with it. He's close to all his family, except for their brother apparently, because he doesn't really ever talk about his brother. But as far as, I think his mom was going through a lot, like with the whole situation. Just what Wendi was going through probably, and it was stressing out his mom a lot. And now I see, obviously, from the trial too, that it was because of her whole visitation and everything. All of that was going to be taken away, right?
Right.
But he didn't express to me like what was going on. But I mean, just from like just conversation and maybe like just like pillow talk, I guess, like like his mom was going through a lot with Dan Markel. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we know that. And I know he didn't express and tell you everything. He just is telling you, just going, my mom's not sleeping, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So he's expressing probably very adamantly, constantly, that's consuming his thoughts when he's talking to you about how his mom is going through the ringer.
Yes.
He's close with his family. He's concerned about that. His sister's going through the ringer.
Yes.
So I guess after the murder happened, and you go and pick up the money, you bring it back, you go meet in the alley out by Luis's house, Sigfredo gets in the car, takes the money, you go back home, either later that day or the next day, he comes over, brings you your money, all that, and then we have that like dry area where nothing's really talked about. Charlie kind of distanced himself. You're
Yeah.
back with Sigfredo. You guys still communicate and stay on good terms.
Right after that, like, Sigfredo kind of he was like nowhere to be found too. Like he was in and out, but we weren't together at that time.
He was
like
off
after, after.
like off on one of his binges or whatever.
Well, you said, okay, so that was July. Like between July, I can even say between July to almost December.
Okay.
Like we're really
You didn't get back together till December.
not until I think the following until 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2015.
Like when he moved back in and like we
Right.
try to make everything work out.
Right, for the kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was pretty much on my own at that time. Like that's why I was working a lot. I was even having to pay babysitter while I was working in the clubs, and then that's why a lot of the frustration too with his mom, because it's like it was all on me once again.
Right.
And part of the reason why I put him on child support with this, that's why it's like I never really knew too. Like I wouldn't want to piss off Sigfredo if this, like of how much involvement he had in it, because I would never put him in child support. But at that time, it's like once again, like money's kind of dwindling down, and he's really not helping me with anything.
Right.
And I don't really have, Charlie's there, but he's just my friend at that time.
Right. You didn't have.
He wanted to be as far removed now I see as possible from me. So.
Okay. Kept you happy, kept friendship alive. But
I see that. I see all of that. Yeah, with keeping me happy, and I understand why they were saying that now. Like, but really, like he didn't do anything extreme to. I mean, like anything out of what he ordinarily would do in the beginning. So.
Okay. You remember anything more you can give us about the conversations?
Of
After the bump, meeting up, Charlie drinking out, or even the conversation. I know you said he said something, and you said you didn't remember exactly what he said that made you realize it was a murder. Obviously, he's mad that the initial trip he gave you guys money to go up for didn't happen. So then he's like, what's going to happen? Something's going to happen. Like, this needs to happen now, kind of thing. That's when at some point, when he's going through that, that's when you realize that.
That's what I feel like he blurted something out.
He blurted something out.
Yeah.
But that is around the time frame, the moment that you realize it's going to be a murder. It's not going to be.
Yeah, that he was going to be hurt a lot more than just getting beat up.
Okay.
I mean, like that's why I was talking to her about it, because it's like,
not hurt a lot more. He was going to be murdered. You knew he was going to be killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's like that's like now that we broke it down, it's like that's more of like the time frame where I would feel like that's the like where that situation was out. But besides that point, it's like I never really, like I said, I wasn't gonna. I didn't think about it, and that's on me. Like I wasn't.
You didn't think past the moment.
Invested on it, like on the situation, like that, like this is really gonna happen. Like this is what it was supposed to be.
Right. Well, and it's always easier in hindsight. You can always look back. Well, I should have picked up on that. Oh, I should have done this. We're not trying to go back and Monday morning quarterback all your decisions. The decision was made. We are where we are today.
Yes.
This happened. This murder happened. It is what it is. We're not trying to go back and say you should have looked into this or should have looked into that. In this standpoint of where we're at now, I know there was a lot of that in trial. Well, how did you not know? Yeah. I'm not.
And that's the frustrating part about it, because that's why whenever I try to express it, it's like I told her, I don't want to waste y'all's time.
Right.
I don't want to keep coming, being transported over here. And I've suppressed, like I told you before, so much of this. Like, this is not something easy. Like, I'm involved in this situation, but I do see it, and I take account of it. I know now the severity of what I've done.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I wasn't asking, and that's on me.
You didn't go.
I wasn't
you didn't
asking
ask the
these questions. Neither would Sigfredo ever really tell me the truth about it.
Right.
I don't think I would have ever gotten it from him. And obviously, Charlie was gonna have me that he wanted to be so far removed from it too, that he's not really asking me the questions, but having me basically investigate for him. Because then now he didn't know what was, like, what's going on.
Right.
Like, who, like, is he getting blackmailed for it? Is he, but it just it didn't make sense. That's why we're all the confusion with the going back and forth. And everybody's, like I said, everybody was lying to everybody,
Right.
to each other, because nobody really said specific names, but almost kind of like everybody knew at the same time
Right.
who we're talking about.
Exactly. Okay. Is there anything that you've remembered, or when you were talking with your attorneys, that they encouraged, anything that I haven't specifically asked you as far as like those conversations or the things that I did ask and you weren't, that you couldn't remember, couldn't think of it? Maybe they refreshed your memory, because I think you've probably walked through all of this with them as well at some point. Anything that you have not given to us yet that you've thought of or been reminded of?
No, you guys actually know way more than what I've ever discussed with my attorneys.
Right. Is there anything left out there that it's fact that we don't know?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. You don't have anything that's attaching anything other than what
like
you've already said about about his mom, or any of them?
Well, that's why it keeps coming around. Like now, like it keeps coming around with me about that, and like I questioned it so much. I mean, I don't know if I've expressed it like that to my attorneys about their involvement, but it just, listening to the phone calls, how they were reacting, how his mom was reacting to the whole situation. It's like
You're talking
she
about
had knowledge
the recording
of it.
of us that we made. The recordings, the T3,
Yeah, his conversation with his mother.
Okay, that's what I was.
And how that was occurring, and then like every single time he'd speak to his mom, he'd ask me questions. You see, like how like the flow always came about, and then he'd ask me questions about it, but I'm here trying to investigate and trying to ask Sigfredo, who's not telling me anything.
Right.
So I was always like at a dead end.
Right.
But how could his mom have not known with the way that she's, like acted? And I do remember one time that, and you guys have this phone call where he's like, he's wanting to meet me up or whatever. And then I went all the way to South Beach, and I was upset because I had to go drive all the way down to South Beach
Right.
about it. But I had a paper that he had to sign too for DCF, like for my employment.
Right.
And so like I came down and then he signed it, but at that moment he's like, oh, I'm finishing up talking to
Mom.
his parents.
And this
His
is after
parents,
the bump.
I believe so.
It is after the bump.
Yeah.
So what did he say to you about all that?
Like he's always discussing something with his parents, and then he'd come to me and
then what did he
ask
tell you
me-
about?
He didn't tell me what he discussed with his parents. I just remember seeing, like I was parking, and then I was trying to look for him, and then I saw like his parents like leaving.
Both his parents, mom and dad?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, they're leaving, and then he walks up to you.
Yeah, and then he meets
And
up
then
with me. And
what
then
did he meet up with you to say? He had you come all the way down there. He had to talk to you in person. So
after the bump, yeah, that like I think his parents were still getting harassed about. I think at this point he had gotten. That's when the undercover was like, I think, calling their office, and
Okay, so he's talking to you about his parents getting phone calls at their office. What else is he saying? Because he had you come all the way down there to talk to you in person.
yeah,
So what is that conversation about?
he's telling me to find out like, who's doing this, because I think in his assumption that he thinks that somebody's trying to like blackmail him with yeah. And to my knowledge, so what I'm thinking is that this whole thing with Tato, but Sigfredo's never telling me anything about,
Right.
he's not telling me. He's trying to figure out, and I'm like, why is his name coming up now? Like, but he's not telling me anything because obviously he's keeps
Right.
me out of the loop.
Right. So he didn't tell you anything about his conversation with his parents, why he was talking to his parents about all this?
Oh, he just told me that his parents, like, he's like, this is not going away. Like somebody keeps trying to, now this is, like, if this is the FBI or whatever, like, they're trying to talk to my parents, or they're trying to figure something out. So that's, I
Okay.
mean, the gist of probably
There's
what
no
we were
discussion
talking
about a strategy or what you should do or anything
No,
like
he just
that?
kept telling me to figure it out, meaning
Find
related
out who's
to,
doing this?
yeah,
and relay it?
related to Sigfredo.
Okay.
But then Sigfredo's not really finding out anything, and he's, I think, getting a little bit, like, feeling like now Tato's like doing, like that he's behind it.
Right. Okay. What about, he tells you to figure it out, all that kind of stuff, and then at some point you get a call on the wire and he tells you to get off the phone, to go get a burner phone. Y'all start talking on WhatsApp. Like, what kind of communications were those? Like, why?
He never told me to get,
He told,
who with Charlie?
Charlie didn't want to talk to you on the phone after a certain point in the bump. And then you and Sigfredo went and got burner phones.
I think no, Charlie still kept talking to me on the phone. Like, it was
Through
Sigfredo.
WhatsApp.
Well, he's always like texted me through WhatsApp too.
Okay.
Yeah, but nothing, like, there's nothing that
But
sticks
y'all-
out that, like,
There was a point to where he stopped talking on his cell phone, and you guys, Sigfredo went and got you and him burner phones.
Yeah, that's when after, okay, because then remember they went and they knocked at my door.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's why I was telling Sergeant Stanford that nobody even, they didn't say who they were. They were just
You
like
knew who
banging.
they were, though.
At that point, no, I really did not know who it was. Like, I was just like somebody's knocking at the door, and that's when I was trying to blow up Sigfredo's
While he was
work
at
number, and then that's when his friend did a surveillance around the
Yeah, drove around and saw
yeah,
them.
and he's like, well, the FBI is talking to him.
And then at that
And then
point,
I-
you still didn't open the door.
No, I did not open the door.
Yeah.
Like I did not want to open that door
Was
at
that
all.
just out of fear, knowing your involvement and worried about?
I mean, it was just kind of scary that I was like the only one there, and then somebody's banging on. I mean, somebody's talking to him. The FBI is talking to him. So then now I'm like, I'm not gonna open the door.
Right.
I just didn't.
Okay. So nothing else about those conversations other than Charlie telling you to take care of this, get this, figure out, get some information.
Yeah.
I just find it hard to believe that when you're meeting in person, and he's adamant and demanding you meet him in person, refusing to talk to you on the phone about any of it.
He's saying the same exact stuff that he's probably already said on the phone. There was nothing different, because if there was something different and he's specifically saying something, this is the time that I would tell you guys. There's no point of me holding back.
Right. And that's what I'm
anything.
trying to
There's
get
no
out.
point.
I don't want us to have to come and sit in here again. I don't want you to have to keep being in limbo back and forth. This is the time to tell everything.
And that's why, if anything, Ms. Bennett, like, if there's anything that he had said anything differently, I would have told you guys already, because there's no point. Like, at this point, it's like I'm telling you guys this because I can't live knowing that I was involved in this and not even having the proper people, like the people that should be
set all this
arrested.
up, yeah.
Yes.
You know what it looks like?
And-
It's like the ones who, yes, you're the middle person. You got Sigfredo and Luis. Y'all are carrying it out. Y'all are like, you got these wealthy people, and then you guys are the ones that
Oh, believe
they knew
me,
they could take.
yeah.
How do you think?
It's upsetting, and it's like it's not closure to the family. This is why, another reason why I was I wanted to speak to Sigfredo, because right now, who knows? Like, he might never speak. And I thought that was like an opportunity for at least please, like, even before my trial, I was like please, like, just something is like why do I even have to go through this? Like, if there's these questions that he can answer,
Right.
and he can serve closure to the
You
family.
think he was worried about you, implicating you? Because he's always seemed to be, even no matter what, protective over not wanting you to go down for this.
Yeah, but look at it. I mean,
Exactly.
there's
Obviously,
all
it's
this
gone now,
but
right?
But it's
Yeah.
not even that. It's like, I would think that if he was protecting me in that way, which, yes, of course, he was protecting me in a certain way. Like, why haven't you come forth with anything else?
Right.
Like, before
he can't do anything to associate Charlie. You were the only person that had that contact with Charlie.
And that's another thing that I was upset about too, that it's like, in the media or like even out, they always thought that I'm protecting Charlie. I have no ties to protect Charlie. There's no pot of gold that everybody, I'm like suffering, and my family's in debt. going through 2 trials, and what I've done, and like smeared my last name for forever, because anybody that ever Googles my name, it's like that's it, and
It's
that's
not a common name either.
it's
so-
not a common name, and this is embarrassing and been so detrimental to my family. Like I was not everything that's happened and whatever. It was like not even to protect Charlie or whatever. I didn't want to hinder anything of appeals or anything for Sigfredo, and I know I shouldn't have thought of it in that way, but I mean,
So
at that
that's why
point-
you didn't come forward with any of this at that moment, because
yeah.
it's appeals.
his appeals were still going. I didn't want to go. I was praying to God that I didn't have to go to that trial again. Thought something was gonna happen. I thought he'd just come forth, clear it all out.
Right.
I'd be able to tell you guys what I knew, and then that was it.
And go from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just, I mean, it just weighs heavy on me that this family's out. I'm sorry. It just does. Especially with it's like having to go through all of this, hearing the recordings now, and it's like, how are they free?
Right. Okay. Let me go talk to them,
Okay.
and I'll be right back. Okay.
Yes.
They're in there.
Yes.
I didn't even hear anything. I didn't hear anything that they were asking.
They were just asking, was anybody in the conference room? So I was just trying to let them know that we are.
So I'm gonna turn this off, and then they'll work on getting you back and whatnot. And I think your attorneys will probably go talk to them, I'm sure. Okay?
Do you, like, they'll probably transport me.
I don't know anything about the transport stuff. I don't deal with any of that. I work for the police department, not with the jail or anything. It's the attorney's office, but they'll discuss all that with you and how that works. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.